Hello, see if anyone's there.
Hello.
Hello there.
I'll take a couple minutes.
Oh, someone's saying hello.
See, green's hello. Oh, yep, hello. They've got to punish me and then go to bed.
No.
Yes.
What are you doing? I won't kick off with my usual height. I was that age when I started punting. See?
What does that mean?
Yeah, what's that mean, Dad?
You want to start betting?
Oh.
All right, ready?
Someone just. Who's born?
Make it good. I'm running out of good ones, actually. Like, look, there's not much left. Public outing dressed by kids, waxing, fake tan, slimed, face full of makeup. I could probably use that. We need some new punishments. Anyway,
What is it, Dad?
you ready?
Yeah.
Fake tan would be good. You need it. See, I need these things. I need makeup. I need fake tan. I probably need waxing.
What the heck? Where you going, bro?
Slimed.
Yeah,
Public outing.
I like
What do you
slimy.
guys want for my dad to have?
You slime me. All right, let's go. Press it, Austin.
Press it, Austin.
Yeesh.
Yeesh.
Press it. Oh no.
What is it?
Waxing. We're gonna wax him.
What are you gonna wax?
Someone said put a shaved head tan.
Shaved head. What are you gonna wax?
And someone said grouse.
Grouse
Grouse.
grouse. Like good,
I
right?
don't know what that is.
It's like Gru
And
from.
everyone else said yes.
Yeah.
Waxing.
Hey, what are you doing, mate? You don't get to punish me twice, mate.
Yes, punish him twice.
Fake tan and wax? No.
Yes.
No, we need to save them up.
Yeah.
All right, you can go to bed now. You can wax me later.
Yeah.
Guys, tell us what we should add, maybe.
Yeah.
Poopy egg.
That's what we
Poopy
should add.
egg.
Shh. See ya.
Guys, tell us what we should add. Someone said the wheel has spoken.
Yeah, the wheel has spoken. We'll do a vote. We're getting waxed.
Yeah, guys,
Shh. Go away now. What are you doing? Making an acorn? What are you, a squirrel? Holy cow, that'll probably be the highlight. This is a very ordinary stuff. That's Brisbane. Why do they get so excited about wanting to hurt me? Insurrection. That was so bad. Steve Kerr, 40-year-old virgin vibes. Yeah, I'm worried. I'm worried because a package arrived from Amazon where she's like, I just got to get some strips, some nose things. I'm assuming I'm getting the full deal. Sacred Den, they live here. They live in the Sacred Den. They drive me crazy. All right. We'll jet through these because I don't think there's much there, but I still haven't even got the times for Scone. Much to my annoyance. Still nothing through. I was out in Canungra for work today. This bloke's house and he reckons he's a retired racehorse in the paddock. The bloke was a pony. Wasn't what's the horse? It wasn't Sweet Ride or whatever it was called. What's the horse that got retired to stud today? Sweet Ride. How does that horse go to stud? How does it go to Widden? Widden used to be like a prestigious stud where, you know, probably a rung below Arrowfield and Coolmore. And now it's standing Sweet Ride. What has happened? Well, how can it even stand for 7? You think they'd have to pay someone 7? Like I'm pretty lenient with some of these horses that go to stud, but Sweet Ride, Dead Set Wednesday horse. All right, let's get into this Scone meeting because it's not that exciting. Actually, just got a call about this horse. Pardon me, Son of Deck. Very strange win when you. It looked a bit of a low win at Newcastle last start with because we were on the thing of gaze and it probably didn't look like it went very well. And Son of Deck was ridden what appeared to be really well and got one okay, but this was different gravy. 11,000, which is most of those horses you can get for 5,500 if they stand for 11, but still. So track-wise, this was the, I don't know if anyone saw, Nigel was the first, I didn't even see his tweet, but I only picked it up after sort of race 2, I think. When I saw a side on, I didn't really watch race 1 that closely, and then Nigel's put up a tweet saying, race 1, unless I'm mistaken, rails in the true, not the 3 metres, which is... As turned out, they had it, and this fellow who must run the track, the straight remaining the true for the day is advertised throughout the week, a breakdown of communication. But they didn't even, they just go in and change it. Like on Riser, they just go in and change it without even telling anyone. It's pretty average. So it was the 8 to the 4 instead of the 8 to the winning post. So the last 400 metres was rail true. And we saw what happened. They sort of started to get wide and wider. Does it make a big difference? Probably not, but it's not the point either, is it? But it was nice of this fellow, was his name Digby, who must be the track manager, to at least come out and say he put his hand up. It was his miscommunication, which, you know, that happens. But I just don't understand. Like, it didn't even make the steward's report. Not a mention of the rail being in the wrong position. So pattern-wise, I think it was certainly an advantage to get down the middle. Nearly every winner came well off the fence, and it was probably even wider. It was better. A few cut through late underneath, and they were fast tempo. So maybe I find that Scone tends to dry out pretty well. They get big frosts and whatever there. So I think a lot of surface water keeps the inside pretty average early, and it can dry out, especially when they sort of avoid it during the day. It can even up. So I think that happened on both days to a certain degree. So going into this classy meeting, I'd be more aggressively sort of helping out horses towards the inside at the start, and then as the day went on, watering it down. Let's go. Race 1, Son of Deck, slow tempo, time overall good. Said I haven't got the adjusted times or the, whatever I want to call them, correct times. So I'm working off their times, which won't be close to the mark, but they're all I've got at the moment. They're normally through by now. So interesting, he's dragged out of the race where he was given a kick in the guts last start and driven forward. This time they've sort of made a commitment to ride him cold, Son of Deck, from the wide draw, so he's the widest back here. Second horse is back with him, Pure Hydrogen. Third horse, Magneteer's up the front with Smart Legend. They did look to control and kind of looked like they had the race between them at the top of the straight, I thought. So there's got to be some merit in this win, and the talk I had with someone this afternoon was about this horse's chances in the Derby, in the Queensland Derby. So it would potentially be going 1,700 straight to 2,400 off the 2 weeks, I assume. Is it Saturday week? We'll get to that Grand Prix or whatever race it was. That looked a pretty bad race. So the conclusion was a bit of a pineapple for me because it comes off a slow tempo here, but it's super dominant. And those races look pretty bad. Like that Tannhauser form doesn't look super strong. I know Aureus Angel or whatever comes out of it, but pretty much had a barrier trial. It's hard to knock someone having a throw at the stumps, but 17 to 24 out of a highway, or whatever this race is, benchmark 72, 3-year-old plus, pretty much a highway. I don't know. I couldn't talk him out of it, that's for sure. Yeah, so like vision-wise, it matches up with the times. Looks like they're going super slow here. Son of Deck back and wide with cover, but pure hydrogen's probably the thing that detracts from the win because it comes from back from a similar spot.
Then came Phillipsburg, pure hydrogen locked up the fence, and Son of Deck sees them all. 500 metres to run.
Apparently it's correct that it got gelded straight after its last start, Townhauser, then trialled 7 days later, which is super strange, and then raced 2 weeks later. So for 28 days or something from when it was gelded, pretty much. So this pure hydrogen cuts up the inside. Son of Deck probably gets to the right part of the track. Bit of a bunch here. As I said, they're going slow. Maybe these leaders just didn't quite take advantage of the slow tempo and kick a little bit earlier to make it harder for a horse like Son of Deck to run them down. And he just simply out sprints them, but does it pretty well, considering, you know, off their times, they've come home about 5 above from the 600 and went out about 5 or 6 below, 4 below to the 600. So, you know, it's an ugly little horse, but it's got an engine. Look at it. Ugly little creature. But it's pretty hard to knock that win. Even the only thing, obviously, it's got to the right part, but these horses haven't exactly stayed hard fence, and they've completely controlled it. I remember one of the media's trying to say this was a Caulfield Cup horse, I think, a few weeks ago. Was it Magneteer or was it the other one? No, it was the other one, I think, Rathful. Scratch that comment. Yeah, super dominant. So I don't know. Would you have a shot at the title with a Queensland Derby? I'm not saying it's a contender, and I laughed when I heard it's a $15 chance. Well, I think that's the other option. There's a benchmark 3-year-old 2,000 metre race on around the same time. So they're the two options. I think that's probably where I'd head just because of the setup. But, yeah, what can you do? What can you do? But he's super dominant there. What do you do with the rest of them? Not a lot, I didn't think. They all had their chance. The horses that were in front of him, and he's just come past them and run away from them. There's no real forgives, you know, for where parts of were in the track. Obviously, Pure Hydrogen's done a good job from out the back off a slow tempo as well, back towards the inside. It sort of did cut ground and then go back in there. You know, it's a pretty steady race, I think, overall, apart from a dominant winner that found the right part of the track. I think that's enough. Yeah, but it's sort of, there's no merit in the Dance with Hooves time. There's no merit with a lot of these runners' times and efforts. This is, again, I'm not going to call them correct times, but adjusted times we'll call them. Whereas the win, that actually had some merit in it, that last section. So first used the track, but still it wasn't as if it was a heavy track. It was, you know, somewhere between a 4 and a 5 probably. Whereas this race, I think, is pretty bad. I don't think there's much upside to too many of these horses. A proper highway, you know, it won't. I don't think this form will travel. The winner's dead set. What is he? She's like 6th or 7th run first prep. How many she had? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th run first prep. 12, 14, 14, 16, 1850, 2400, back to a mile, and then another run here at a mile off a 7-day backup. Was it? So she's a war horse. I did hear Cameron talk after the race saying he had to give her a good gallop on the Tuesday because she looked like she was in need of a gallop. So she must be a extremely solid constitution horse that needs a lot of work and will cop a lot of work and whatever because she just keeps backing up. But, you know, Torre Vista had a good look at its form before this race, gets its head up, does a few things wrong. You know, it's an honest, solid horse, but I don't think it's got a huge upside. Rematch is just a horse. 1 no beat was a bit of a query at the trip. But, you know, again, just not a bad horse. I didn't think there was a lot here with a lot of upside. I think this is the winner here, dead set midfield. Even tempo, even steady tempo. The race overall pretty even. Dollar Magic was in a very interesting win. We'll get there, but I'll get my feeling of Rachel jumping and dragging. But the ride was pretty steady on it, and it's, you know, it's, what was it, 3 in front with 200 to go, so it's hard to say it wasn't dominant, I guess.
On the outside of Magic Pharaoh, then came behind the Storm, is now fourth last. They come around the turn, and it's one beat, no beat in front from Walls Angels. Dolly Jane over on the inside from Torre Vista. Toes in the water, got all over heels there as Rematch starts a run and dances with hooves down the out.
I just want to look at all that interference again. There's a few sort of just run up the backside of each other here, but I didn't think it was significant. I think the Olive horse is probably the one that cops the worst of the interference as it toes in the water. Sort of gets checked out of it and then doesn't really get a chance to build momentum, whereas the horse on the outside are. Really starting to let down today, and Dances with Hooves charges to the lead. Rematch grinding away, but Dances with Hooves pulls away for a big win. So if there's a horse that probably can improve, it's probably Toes in the Water. Its form was okay leading into this, but nothing special. But again, I just think this is dead set highway country form. It's not going anywhere else. The winner's got upside, but it's got to need a spell soon, surely. Have a look at it. She's a big, strong thing. Considering all the racing she's had, done an incredible job. But found the right part of the track in an average race. So I don't think there's much to learn there, good or bad. I think it's a bit of a wash, the whole race. Next. This race was marred by, did you see commemorative go? I've got no clue what, again, we'll get to that horse, but I've got no clue what that horse is. Another steady race here. So this is the Woodland Stakes listed 2-year-old fillies race. Tote came out, which took a fair bit of the quality out of the race. I thought sort of Lazura was the horse that was left as the obvious, but then you watch a parade and it's just an ugly little underdeveloped run of a thing that certainly will improve significantly with time. A lot of maturing to do. So when I saw it parade, I was like, ugh. And heard Matthew Dale interviewed. He's a good trainer. And this horse paraded really well. No surprise to see it run really well. Let's Go Barbie, I thought, was the main danger to Lazura prior to the race. I think it just sort of ran okay. Definitely the winner has upside next prep, but this is a very, very average race on paper. So we'll need to step up. Certainly not what you'd call a black type race quality-wise in general.
Baby there, barrier one, dancing around. Racing now, and Saturn Stiletto left the gates nicely from the wide draw. Labella Bondi jumped well together with Zoo Baby. Pretty handy is the favourite Lazura in the early stages, and Aroa Stone's going forward as well. Let's Go Barbie position just behind them with Grace Filatus. Then came
I thought Aroha Stone might run better than what it did. Sort of gets caught wide, but it's just that they're not going quick.
Last of all, Saturn Stiletto tugging along, races to the lead from Zoo Baby. Aroa Stone out deep is third, followed by.
Now this is Lazura back here in the Ricky Sirachi colours. Let's Go Baby certainly had its chance on the back of the second horse. So Lazura comes out to that same sort of patch where Dances with Hooves and Son of Deck came. And down the outside, Lazura starting to wind up, 5 off the lead. It's Saturn Stiletto still in front. It gets a little bit squeezed in checky old Aroha Stone, but still. And Lazura strides up on the outside of Saturn Stiletto, clear from Let's Go Barbie. It's Lazura,
and Saturn Stiletto and Lazuro just win it. A half head to Saturn Stiletto. Let's Go Barbie River. A rower's stone. Let's Go Barbie.
I'm just watching this bit of any horse.
Filatas 3 wide out, very deep as Fingers Hunter as they come up to the turn, and Lazuro's fourth.
Alley Deal. So it's back in behind, just watching it.
From Saturn Stiletto, then Pensativa, a rower's stone.
Sort of gets on heels there and ends up back towards the inside section. Doesn't really look like it knows what it's doing. So it's got some upside, this thing, I think, Alley Deal. It gets back towards the inside there. Just it looks a bit raw, doesn't really know, but it sort of wants to find the line in the wrong part of the track. It could sneak into an easier race. It could sneak back to a maiden or something and do something, this horse, Alley Deal.
On the outside of Saturn Stiletto, clear from Let's Go Barbie.
Rider upgrade and back in grade. I thought it's gone okay in the wrong part.
To Saturn Stiletto starting to wind up 5-0. The outsider starting to mow it down, and Lazura strides up on the outside of Saturn. Let's Go Barbie. Et Lazura and Saturn Stiletto, and Lazura just win it.
It's definitely got a maiden in it. Let's Go Barbie. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Saturn Stiletto. It's a class 1 horse. So it can go back in grade, but I'd be worried about this sort of travelling to any sort of black type, Brisbane race, anything like that. This form, I'd be very worried about it. And I'm assuming Lazura, I'd nearly be certain it'll get tipped out. I don't think it thought about it. I think it's just cactus. If you hadn't seen it parade, there's just nothing of it. So she's had to make a run. She was very green at first prep first run and put them away really nicely there and did a lot wrong in the run. So I don't think it was a pull-up thing. I think she just was getting tired. And the second horse has had a really nice run up on speed. I'd say it's probably kicked a little bit too. Now they have put a little margin on the rest of them, so I don't. I think this horse has only got upside. Yeah, I'd rather own Lazura than Saturn Stiletto going forward. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, I was lucky I didn't do Mars laying it. I thought about it. It was just because it was such a bad race that it kind of stopped me. But I couldn't knock anyone for wanting to lay it. That's for sure. Christ and Osberg, what are you crying for? What are you crying? Yeah, that's enough of that race. This race, Unusual Legacy, dead set the only horse in the race with upside. Good upside. There's a couple of imports too, but the race very steady. They went slow. I think Rory kind of nearly missed the boat, but luckily the horse had enough time to sort of get through its gears. I think it's got upside. It's only second up here, Unusual Legacy, so there's no doubt that it does have upside. Second horse was very fit, so had its chance. Perfect Play was only second up. Tajawal was only first up, so I'll have a good look at it. Fulfilled was on debut, I think, for the new stable. So there's a few interesting horses here, but
ready for the fourth with a rain band
I think this horse has got better wins in it. There's no doubt. I think it'll cope. It'll like races with more pressure and whether it can lead and dictate or just sit off them. I think this horse can measure up to better grade for sure. And probably off a win like this that doesn't look that visually good, we might be able to, you might be able to find it in a better race next time, and it won't be overplayed, even though it is well found every start. It's a pretty obvious horse, probably could be undefeated. It still might find a race next up, which where it can be dominant, but might not be that short. If a win like if a visually not exciting win like this is going on. You can see they're going really slow here. It's in a good spot. Unusual Legacy, one out, one back, but you can see it travelling quite keen.
Four victories still in a 3-wide position on the outside of Perfect Play. Then came Baltic Coast. 2 lengths further back to Vince from Deck's King of Clubs in front.
So not a lot happens here. Just seeing if anything weird happens back. So here is where I'm only being overly critical. I think he should have been already up and around Decadent Tail and sort of trying to get this horse up and rolling. It's obviously got a fair flat spot. It's not a horse that can sprint on a dime. So I think he did the wrong thing allowing the stablemate that was hard fit to sort of get to his flanks and head him. I think he should have been off and around this horse and building revs, especially the way the track was racing. So even though the horse had a nice run, I thought it was a very sleepy ride and he was very lucky to get away with it. So this is that Tajawal thing having its first start here. Unusual Legacy, 4 victory, perfect play in front.
By 2 or 3 lengths at Oakfield, Waratah, then Mountain Guest. 4 victory, Unusual Legacy slicing into the clear. Tajawal back on the inside. It's King of Clubs under siege now with 4 victory.
So he's very lucky considering the horse on the outside's, hard fit and has a decent enough turn of foot for a stayer. Sorry, this is perfect play coming through, isn't it? Yeah, that's King of Clubs in front, pardon me. So this is perfect play here, King of Clubs.
And the favourite to win it, Unusual Legacy from 4 victory and perfect. The 400 metres a good leader by 2 or 3 lengths at Oakfield, Waratah forcing into the. It's King of Clubs under siege now with 4 victory the outside. Unusual Legacy taking a while to wind up.
So he's a bit held up too, Tajawal, so he's a bit pretty much for forgive back inside here.
And the favourite to win it, Unusual Legacy from 4 victory and perfect.
In summary, I'd say every possible, even though it's that wide a little bit in the run, I think, hard fit horse. Way the track was racing, not a big, strong tempo, slow tempo, every possible. Pretty good return off a long break, King of Clubs. Another good effort from this horse, perfect play. Very fit Vincenzo that's racing well for the new stable. It's probably as good as it can go, but had its chance. This horse is an interesting little blowout. Tajawal first up, can improve for sure. This form will be okay for wintertime staying races, and I think the winners can go up to Brisbane and step up in class. So it's the only horse I'd be keen to follow up in class straight away. I think, a couple of these horses, especially probably Perfect Play, can knock over a 78 or something similar pretty easy. I think this form will be okay. Even though the time's nothing special, they're just sort of horses that grind away anyway, so faster tempo probably they still run pretty similar, even not probably if not better. This was Punishing Race. Looked a very soft race on paper. Need some luck. I thought it only sort of trialled okay back and wide. It was all up against it. Jewelry second up, jumping in distance, inside draws didn't look great. It had a lot against it. I thought silly in hindsight. I was sort of semi-keen on Elson Boy of running a really positive race. I think I marked it like $14, $13 or something. So no moral, but a bit dirty. I lost on the race personally. I got just sort of wrapped up in Ostraka. Just being the horse that ran really well fresh off average trials. I like that. So you think they've got good upside. Look to map outside this horse or very close to it, which, everything that could go right for it really did. They went a slightly above average tempo, but only because it was an average race. He's definitely had his chance. Looked the winner and was very soft late. The winner sort of ran away from him. Super fit horse with a 3 kilo claim on. Someone mentioned that it was hugely not benefited. We'll talk. This is just interesting, only because they're super inconsistent with the way they do this. So the horse has won like 5 or 6 in a row now. But this is like their ratings. It's super inconsistent. So it was an 87 city, and they dropped it to a 70 for no, it was a 76. It's run on there. Has that already been ranked? They dropped it to a 70, did they? What sort of rating was that? What sort of race is this? So the benchmark's 72, carried 60.5. So they've given it a huge discount from its country rating, which is entitled to get a discount, but a huge one, and they're not consistent with it. Sometimes they'll have a horse like this is 87 and it'll have an 82 in city rating or something like that. So, all I'm trying to say is it was very well handicapped for what it's been doing lately. Obviously hasn't been doing it in town, but up against horses, that have been running in country championships, things like that. So very well placed in summary by the trainer, and a decent enough effort, but again, a pretty questionable race. And the form overall, pretty questionable. Ostraka, not sure what to make of it. Twice in a row now, it's sort of run up, whether it's fitness-wise was still vulnerable because it travels so strongly and then sort of lets down and then it looks like it's going to go through its gears and it just doesn't. It sort of just peaks. You know, next time 1400 maybe we'll see it at its absolute peak, but it's hard to imagine that it'll find a better race than this. So this is Elson's boy out wide here working quite hard. Ostraka pings straight outside leader who ends up, I think, taking a sit. This is Jewelry back in here. Needs some luck. Who else can we look at here? Silvanito's in the race. Fairway Star. Bojangles is interesting. I'm not sure it runs the trip. Super strong. I thought it was strange place when I thought they'd scratch it. So this is Bojangles on the outside. I think he's probably a sort of 1100, 1200 metre max horse. So I think he can improve.
A length and a half to Yiska, followed by Fairway Star. Bojangles slipping across into decent position.
So she did a good enough job, the apprentice, to sort of keep rolling forward and have the confidence to do so. They really do control the tempo pretty much from this point on. So it's just slightly above average. You can see they're all travelling really comfortably though. Bojangles only had 3 runs, hasn't it? Why do you say it needs a spell? 87 countries, 17 points. Yeah, that's it. So that's you was just saying that 17 points. That's I think that's very unusual.
5 in a row.
What I don't understand is why there's not a pure formula.
They're followed further back by Yiska down the outside.
So Ostraka every chance, Jewelry pretty much every chance. This is Need Some Luck down the outside, finds the right part of the track, but gives a big start obviously. Bojangles is in a bit of a tricky spot.
Ostraka now it takes the lead. 175 to go. Ostraka, Elson Boy, Jewelry working into the.
Who's that back towards the inside? Silvanito. So look at Bojangles gets going late.
There's 5 in a row. Elson Boy neck to Ostraka. Jewelry starting to slice through the pack. 3 behind Ostraka now it takes the lead. 175.
So I think this is going to be a tricky race, form-wise, trying to work out what to do with these horses. What do you do with this guy? Did he have his chance here and he's not genuine, or will that run take him to his peak next start? Do you give Jewelry one forgive? Because I think it was off a decent spell first up, and that Springleaf form looks okay. Jumps from 11 to 1300 on a bit of a dicey track. So will she be at a peak next start? So could peak next start, could peak next start. Improve run. Who's that back towards the inside? Zuccarette. Yeah, wouldn't be too worried about it. Ivatiro wouldn't be too worried about it. Yiska wouldn't be too worried about it. Was he to forgive? I'd say so. It can certainly be better placed with a senior rider, maybe back to 1200. Bojangles. A bit of a forgive or Need Some Luck. I would say it can improve significantly back on top of the ground, which is unlikely to get, but it could improve with the right set of circumstances. But it's not a super strong race, so you've got to be really careful with these horses going forward. Who's the 2? So Midnight Opal. What happened to it in the run? Who rode it? Wraith Knock. So it's never in a really great spot either, is it? No, it's here, it's wide. So how does it end up where it ends up? So he sort of kind of gets boxed in. I don't know what happened there with Midnight Opal. He sort of missed the boat, and then the horses doesn't look like it's travelling, but then through the line it goes okay. So it's a really weird race, this race. Yeah, Bojangles getting a go on here. Need some luck trying to get to the outside. Midnight Opal looks like he's given it half a barrier trial. Yeah, this race is a bit of a scary Pandora's box from a review perspective. Even Fairway Star went all right back in there behind. That's interesting. Midnight Opal being gelded after that. That's very interesting. Yeah, I think he sort of just maybe had a shot at the title with it, and it probably has been disappointing. So it'll be interesting with a gelding and a reset what it comes back, because it certainly looked like a nice enough horse. Just quit my job. I thought you were just looking for a job on like 2 days ago. I'm sure Bojangles has only had. Yeah, I agree. See close 3. I agree with exactly what you're saying there. Like Equicast and still in a bunch finish. Another one of my arguments that all feet issues they should have to upload a photo. How hard can that possibly be to organise? Just so that we know what the issue is with the Equicast, whether it's a tiny dot of it or whether it's half a foot missing. Yeah, the race has got warning signs written all over it, but there are horses that can improve in it. So it's a very dicey one, like trying to treat the race as a good feeder race or not. I think winners will come out of it, but they're going to have to be very well placed and find circumstances that suit them to improve. Full-time punter. Mate, it's a privilege. Richard Irvine says it's a privilege to be a punter. Try and tell your family that if you don't find a winner. All right. Denise's Joy. Another race that it didn't look great to the eye. It looked like a pretty average efforts from a lot of horses. I didn't think sort of Springley let down that great. Commemorative was pretty dominant, but found the right part of the track. Funny horse, this horse. Big, strong filly that when she looks good, she looks great. But she looks like when she doesn't, or when she isn't on her game, she looks pretty average. Maybe she just doesn't like being cluttered up. But then you've got that sort of the win on debut, but that was in an average field at Canterbury. And yeah, I don't know. But I was certainly in the corner of Springley and left field here. Left field ran really well. Late rider change, Michaela Weir gets back in the pack. Yeah, I don't understand the privilege line, but anyway, we'll not worry about that. This race is interesting. I don't think we won't get a price left field again like this, I wouldn't imagine, which is a shame, and it was such a nice race for it. Obviously, the draw didn't help, but winner's pretty dominant anyway. It's just, again, a bit of a dicey race from what I'm seeing currently, sort of times and everything wise. It's just, I'm not sure how this form will travel. So, number one, good to see like left field. It's not completely devoid of speed. So there's one thing it's got up its sleeve. If it ever does draw a gate, it can settle much closer. I'm not saying it's going to be leading a race anytime soon, but it can settle much closer. So that's something to take into account when looking forward with it. My greatest pet hate. I know it's hard to tell, the old Parallax era, and you've got a lot of Waterhouse horses in this race and speed drawn wide. It was right to try and find cover probably with Springley, but I just hate any sort of short course races physically dragging back, especially horses like this that can travel and quicken. It just drives me mad that you're going to give away further start. So, like physically restraining the horse, looking over your shoulder for cover, it drives me up the wall. Whereas she could have just sort of rolled forward here and ended up, wherever she wanted to. She didn't have to go to the fence. She could have just sat outside the Derby horse or even in front of it and just sort of let them all roll forward. And, you don't get given this ground back, is my argument. You're literally giving away advantage anytime you're restraining. And, this horse then just gets really keen because they're not even going quick. I guess the best way to describe it is if you're getting back, it should be because they're running away from you or you can't keep up. You should never be going back because you're reversing. if that makes sense. Like you should let the tempo dictate where you settle on these sorts of horses, because you can see she sort of ends up back in the spot that she could have been anyway. So instead of, she's had to just use and get keen, whereas, if she had to just sort of let the horse roll, she probably ends up on the back of the same horse and doesn't use up all this energy. So Commemorative's out here. This Commemorative left field, Spring Lee. Any other interesting horses here? Martini Mama, who was coming out of a highway, like I couldn't understand the go for it, but it's obviously a very honest horse, but just seemed ridiculously short. And then you got sort of all the gays up front that are first up from a spell. So she very luckily sort of gets the run when she needs it on Spring Lee. The big girl's got room to move and wind up, and left field comes right down the outside.
Martini Mama the Grey trying to slice between the pair. Now Commemorative's winding up with a big run on the outside. And in a bound,
Lazargo's forced back to the inside, back down there. Martini Mama back towards the inside, but, I don't think it's cost her 3 or 4 lengths. Like considering left field got a similar ride, like same sort of thing we were talking about, dragged out. A little bit different for it because it had such a wide draw. She probably went back, 3 or 4 lengths further than she had to. She probably could have just ended up on the back of Commemorative if she had have been a little bit more patient rather than reefing the horse back. Don't think it would have changed the result. She probably runs second instead of third. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do with this horse, but the beauty of her is that she always seems to be very well found because of her breeding and stable and everything she's done, that you kind of expect her to come up pretty tight odds next time out anyway. Again, this race is like time-wise, nothing special, so a little bit wary, but these three, the first three across the line could certainly measure up in a fillies black type race up in Brisbane potentially. Rider change. They could all get rider changes to boost them. They will all want sort of big fields, preferably a little bit more adaptable. Spring Lee maybe, but big field, big pressure will suit all three of them. Yeah, I think that race, Paul, saying that Brett Kavanagh's once again my girl was a big go in this race last year. I think it was a lot weaker race, but it was a bit of a weird horse. I think the ratings people were just super, super keen on this horse, Martini Mama, and I couldn't really see it. I thought she just had the PR of PRs last start, like absolute perfect run, and this was a much deeper race. But what does Joe say? I think the winner can go on to do it. Well, it wouldn't surprise you, would it? Like it's a horse that could, I don't know, what could it run in? I don't know. How far is she going to run? I'm not sure. I don't know what she is, because when she looks good, she looks great, and when she doesn't, she looks very average. So if you go back and watch her run last start, like what was it? I'm not really sure. Like she got in a little bit of trouble, but and it was a heavy track. It wasn't that heavy, but it was heavy. So she kind of gets squeezed, but then I watched it quite closely. Like she gets a little bit keen, and she's sort of cluttered in here, but even when she gets out, she doesn't, she looks like she's traveling here, but when she gets out late, sort of one bats, like she's nothing. Don't know. I'm not that excited by sort of infancy French Endeavour, like they're decent horses, but they're nothing super special. Going back, sort of Silvanito form, Weather, Power Ballad, all the form's pretty steady. Kazoo's okay. I don't know what she is at all. Most of the locals play on. Yeah, I'd say that. Not much memory PR. Yeah, she had the right run there for what she is, I think. Big sort of lopey thing that wants to work into the race. I'd struggle to find her. In too many races going forward. I think sort of Springley with if Blake Shin jumped on it or something like that, I think it could improve a couple of lengths easily, and so could Left Field. Now, I'd probably back those two to beat her again, especially if she had an inside draw, something like that. I'd be keen to sort of back the other two to beat her again. Pattern was certainly suiting this horse here, Opal Ridge. Again, like time looks very steady, going out, coming home, steady, overall steady. So a bit disappointing that probably the on-speed horses. We'll get another look at Iona Merck. It's probably just sort of up and in, was not ideal for Insurrection being first up. Hard to say, was only okay. There's some decent horses in this race, like Quick Tempo's no slouch. Cavalier Charles is no slouch. With Your Blessings, a tough little horse that drew the wrong gate. Bit underrated. So not too many horses were well set up here. And the way the track was racing probably suited the winner the best, especially considering the ride that Iona Merck was given from the draw. So I think it's won by default to a certain degree. But she's a tough little mare in her own right now. So here we go. Opal Ridge, Iona Merck, Insurrection back towards the inside. Hard to say. And here we go again. Again, hard to tell from this angle. But she's jumped on terms. And again, they're not going fast. So I get the argument. If they're going 100 miles an hour and the tempo takes you back towards the rear, it does. But they're going slow here. And again, like you've got Opal Ridge reverse parking, Special Reward reverse parking, and Iona Merck reverse parking on the outside of it. It's easy to say. But like again, you're giving up. Like I would have rather to sit 4 wide out here than do this. Giving up 4 lengths to this horse, 7 lengths to the leaders. And Opal Ridge kind of gets away with it because she sort of lands in that okay spot on the back. She just sort of lands in the right spot. Quick Tempo's inside her. Whereas Iona Merck just had to go back that extra 3, 4, 5 lengths to get cover. Becoming a bit of a punishing horse, Iona Merck, but again, I think it's a horse a bit like Spring Lee that with the right rider and drawer and whatever, it could just jump out of the ground.
With Your Blessing up the fence. There's many chances here. Opal Ridge letting down. With Your Blessing the inside, but Opal Ridge, Iona Merck storming home at the end, but Opal Ridge
clearly peaks late to Iona Merck. Just sort of let down really well. I'd say it's sort of 600 to the 200 sectionals would be really, really good. But I despite the sort of bunch finish and time being only average, I'd say this form will be okay because With Your Blessing was first up, wrong part of the track. Insurrection, first up, wrong part of the track. Quick Tempo is just a really honest horse that kind of got held up, but it was okay. Hard to say, just an honest horse. Very fit, right part of the track. Charles Cavalier, wrong distance, first up. And Iona Merck set a huge task first up. So whilst it doesn't look great, most of these horses can improve. So Opal Ridge can improve. With Your Blessing can improve. Iona Merck can improve. Charles Cavalier can improve. Insurrection can improve. Hard to say, probably can't. And I think that's nearly as good as Quick Tempo goes as well. But whilst it's an ugly little bunch finish with not great time, I think a lot of these horses have got upside this prep. Didn't want to burn it first up. Well, you didn't burn. So there's a difference to burning a horse. You burn a horse if they're going fast and you're scrubbing it and whatever, but you're not burning a horse if you're just keeping it in a rhythm and letting the race unfold. There's two big differences there. Like if you're really aggressive to hold a spot on a fast speed first up, it's a lot different to dragging a horse 6-7 lengths further back than it probably needed to be, just to make sure that it gets cover, in a leisurely run race. But I'm sure that was the thinking. times, do you find the times hard to measure up for carnivals like Scone with Metro and listed horses? Yeah, absolutely. Especially, you get a limited sample size with different track conditions, things like that. You certainly do. And you find that the times are wrong by bigger margins too at these tracks. So that's what's annoying about not having the adjusted times now to look at, because it gives you a much better idea. But, it is what it is. And I think visually most of it sort of matches up. This looks like a fairly average race where they haven't gone quick and they haven't quickened. So, that's all you really need to know, that it's a pretty average race, average tempo. Yeah, small sample size because of the limited times. Opal wins the Tassiara. I hope it does. There's a few good horses around. Like if Magic Time ends up in a Tats Tiara, I think Magic Time's got a bit more quality than this horse. Yeah, I think visuals is very important. Scone form. Yeah, it's not far off Newcastle. I could argue that with you for sure. Right, Dark Jewel Classic. Another race that was a bit of a time's a bit better here. They do go fast early. And time overall is pretty good too. So I'm just not sure how many of these horses have got serious upside. Ruthless Dame's probably the horse that's a little bit disappointing. She's a bit of a nightmare. I think they just don't know what she is. Maybe she's just a fresh horse. I'm not sure anymore. But Kari's a human nightmare or a equestrian nightmare. Overriding was just a butcher job. Copped a bit of a sore back, I thought. Shadows of Love continues to just race out of its skin, but I do think it has issues, feed issues or whatever, that are holding it back from letting down as well as it can. It has been sort of racing for. This is a fastest tempo. Fall for Cindy is just a really honest horse. Bit of a Johnny on the spot, but runs good time. So maybe I think I underrated her here. Sort of thought back towards the inside she might struggle to measure up with a couple of these horses, but she did a good job. Banana Queen let down like the winner. Thought it was a pretty casual ride, but still had its chance. She's probably, at her peak next start, so will Fall for Cindy be. Overriding probably still got some upside. That's about it.
This race and the light is on, and we're good to go. Stand by for a break. Gates are back, and Boot Scooter anticipated the start well.
Up for the golf day at Scone. I was just saying that some you watch that PGA golf, and you want to jump out in the backyard and hit some golf balls, but my body hates golf. My hips just hate it. But I don't know. I might just keep trying to strengthen my goddamn hips and see if they'll cop a bit of punishment, because I do miss playing golf.
And now Short Shorts is getting into stride, and Short Shorts puts the head in front. Wolves on the in.
So Kari actually jumped.
And now Short Shorts is getting into stride, and
Short Shorts up front. Shadows of Love up front. I think this is Banana Queen with the changed colours here. Where's the winner? Must be in here. The winner's in here somewhere. Ruthless Dame outside it. Oh, what happened to Overriding at the start? Probably worth looking at there. So that's even worse. Overriding jumped quite well and ends up right out the back. So this is outside of Russian Conquest here. One off the fence is Overriding. So just a bit passive there and got dictated to, just in a bit of an awkward spot and gets spat out the back. So you can see there sort of Overriding just losing ground. But they were going a bit quicker than what I thought, which is sort of getting to flatter the Overriding's effort. Back with the winner.
Further back to Fall for Cindy. Boot Scooter gets back now from Miss Fabergé. Then came over riding Kari.
Who's that on the fence? That's Gennady getting a bit of squeeze up on the inside there, Gennady.
Short Shorts out by 3 lengths to Wolves, and Mirrorview third the outer.
I thought Russian Dame certainly had the right run to do something. So did Banana Queen. Fall for Cindy back closer towards the inside. This is about the time of the day we're talking about where it's the inside seems to be drying out a bit. Those horses cutting under it seem to do it quite easily. So here's kind of where it gets pear-shaped for Overriding. So Overriding's right next to it. It was on the back of Fall for Cindy. See what happens to Overriding. Here's Banana Queen. I just thought he's doing this a bit, Dylan. He's just a little bit... he's not proactive. He's not really looking at how the race is unfolded to this point, trying to work out, where to position his horse. Nugget was a bit the same the other day. He's not really... It just like he's just hoping for everything to happen for him. Here it kind of does, but it's too late. He's not really putting his horse into the race. He's just hoping that it happens. So he's a bit the same. Like, I know he's in an awkward spot, but he kind of just hopes for the best, and he does get out in plenty of time. This is Fall for Cindy cutting back to the inside. So I'm just going to go back a bit. He's Overriding. So watching Overriding on the back of Banana Queen. He tries to go back and outside, then he goes back inside, then he sort of gets checked here, trying to go for a middle run. Tries to go outside again, and then ends up going, back towards the inside again late and gets held up. So, yeah, Zach did a good job. Whether he's marginally in the wrong part of the track or not sure, but, good solid win, good time. Banana Queen, okay, solid. Overriding, bit of a flashing light run, but... does have pace assistance. Bit of a weird horse. Not a lot back in the pack that you could get too excited around. Electrica went okay, ridden way back in the field. She's just an honest horse. I didn't think there was anything too exciting here. It was all pretty much what you see is what you get. Winner, pretty solid horse, solid horse. Trying its ass out, not letting down like it can, in my opinion. It's a horse that could pinch a race, Overriding if everything went its way. Did I miss anything? Yeah, I think Dylan looks like he's down on confidence or something at the moment. He looks like he's riding really scared, not scared. What's the best way to put it? He's, I find when riders aren't at their best, they don't win out of turn. So they're not making things happen. They're just sort of, they end up winning when everything goes their way, or they're on a superior horse. They don't, when they're sharp, they're either, it's a slow tempo, they're out the back, they're trying to get their horse into the race as soon as possible. They're up on speed, they've controlled the tempo, they're off and gone, making horses behind chase. They're back in the pack. They've gone quick. They're just trying to edge out at, the 800, trying to find the right back, get into clear running, make sure they've got momentum when they need it to get into the race, knowing that, the leaders are going to come back. But when they're not in good form, they're, sitting there just, they just seem to let the race go past them so often, whether it's, horses whipping around, pocketing them from good positions, or sitting out the back and just doing nothing and working home, making, impossible tasks. That's when riders are out of form for mine, or they're just, not at their best. And that's kind of what Dylan looks like he is to me at the moment. Doesn't look like he's anywhere near his sharpest. I think, a few of them have copped a little bit of over ratings. They're probably not as seasoned as they... the rides they're getting, but I'm not even going to click on him to work it out. Good lead into the Calcutta, 100% apart from organised 9 holes. Perfect, yeah, 9 holes. Scary. How does Ash Morgan ride the first 2 winners, then do that on Overriding? Yeah, he was kind of in an awkward spot, but again, that's probably shows that he's level. Like he's a solid jockey. Ash Morgan, like a really solid provincial rider, and he just gets a little bit outclassed at times, but can look really good. So, and he's riding quite well at the moment, you'd have to say. So he's making a lot of good decisions, looks really strong on them. He just sort of just got chopped out, and things just didn't go well for him here. only a 9-hole Ambrose before the Calcutta. That's like the greatest thing in the world. 9-hole Calcutta. I've never heard of a 9-hole Ambrose. I've never heard of one. That's awesome. Yeah, so I think, these horses could sneak up to Brisbane, but they're going to have to be really well placed. 4 for Cindy, Banana Queen, overriding probably the main 3. But Curry first up 1400 was super strange. They've obviously done a lot of work with the horse. She's an interesting horse. Electrica can probably drop back in grade and find a race that she can be competitive in. I don't know what to do with Ruthless Dame and most of the rest. All right, Luskin Star. I was all over this horse last start at Hawkesbury when it got beat ahead and ran 4th, and I was on it each way at 25-30 to 1. I thought the inside gate might make it difficult here. I thought Reggie may make it difficult, and it probably did win by act of God in hindsight, this Coast Watch. Menable's an absolute train wreck. I think Amenable also knocked over Gravina to a certain degree, hardly made the Stewards report. Kobe looked the winner for a couple of strides. Kinlock really didn't have time to get out and wind up. Colino had every chance, looked the winner, and certainly didn't go on with it. Jimmy Star. I think he's, the gloss is probably off him now. You can see there's only sort of 4 lengths over about the first 10 horses. So a strong-ish tempo, and the time's just okay. So I think the race is just okay. They've done a good job with this horse. I think they bought it off Waller at the start of the prep, and he's been super consistent. But, he probably raced a bit closer than I thought he would. I thought Amenable will be up closer. They do go quite fast. Much better Stamped Urgent. Another one. She uses some strange riders at times. Sarah Ryan. But, obviously just super aggressive on much better and works really hard in the run and knocks up clear pace effect. Who's the horse that lobs outside it? Is that Mar and Pa? Tamerlane looked quite big to me in the yard, so he can improve. So Kobe's 3 wide up on speed, so its effort's better than I actually first thought. The offset of that is that getting to the middle of the track was the right place to be, but has raced up on speed, no cover, on a fast tempo. So, line that up if you can. Jimmy Star back here. I'll go and have a decent look at him in a sec. So, Amenable's here in this limey green, whatever the hell colour is on Colourblind. This is Gravina. Tommy puts the right-hand blinker on or doesn't put the right-hand blinker on and just cuts straight across him in a sec. Dead Set Tragedy beat. Coast Watch is another one of these horses that rolls back towards the inside, maybe 5-6 off the fence, and pinches a break. Just holds on. Kinlock trying to get to the outside here and Jimmy Star behind him. So Tommy's just taken Gravina right back towards that wrong part of the track and took a while to sort of balance up, but you'd have to say it was a certainty beat. Amenable. Not a bad effort first up, King of the Castle, but again, pace assisted down the right part of the track, but it was first up. So, at least a pass mark for King of the Castle, who's a nice horse to find when he's up and fit. That's not a bad little nothing run. So this is Steely, which is one of the hardest horses on the planet to catch. Back here. I just want to see what Jimmy Star does at the start. So he half misses it, does he? No, he's just taken back. I definitely think if they run this race a few times, we'll get different winners. But Amenable was the definite hard luck story. There's no doubt about that. Hard luck, fell in, but racing well. Box seated, sprinted in the wrong part of the track. You wouldn't say he was like hugely flattered apart from the result. He was probably lucky to get home. A little bit unlucky. Gravina, Kobe sat wide up on speed. Kinlock was pace helped, the tempo helped, but didn't quite get to the right part and accelerate. Jimmy Star, Colino sort of had the chance. it's just another one of these races that's nothing special. I don't mind this little. I think Steely was just out there for a look. I don't even mind his last 100. He's beaten a long way, but you can sort of see just sort of warming up through the line, Steely, and past the line. So he's probably an interesting horse to keep an eye on, considering he's run 4th last. You know, he's just given a dead set barrier trial, basically. You know, yeah, it's just another race that's going to be tricky to line horses up going forward out of, because I think there will be winners come out of it. Colino is probably the worst run of the horses up towards the speed, had the best ride and given its chance. Ugh. Easy when the dramatist. Yeah, was the Calcutta good? I saw the Calcutta for, was it Wagga? Holy shit, they held like 100 grand or something, maybe more. He had an option to follow Bullock and go back to the inside of Tara, and he went to the outside. Ash Morgan, that is. Speak to your next about it for the next year. That's good. 100% at pay the punters on the track rider. 950. Or we can learn from overriding not at all. Does Jimmy Star win if you track Ravina rather than? Yeah, it's hard to tell, isn't it? There's a few runners in there that were. He's been up a long time, Jimmy Star. Tommy's a weird rider, isn't he? He's just hard to catch. He can look unbelievable and not. Yeah, still he's impossible to catch. 49,000, pretty good. Nugget for 10, they'd be feeling good about life. Holy cow. Wasn't it a sick watch? Very handy here. The Skylab, our favourite horse that I've done my absolute balls on so many times. I'm probably marginally in front of him, but it feels like he cost me houses. But he was good. The quaddie was good. The Friday was much better than Saturday, 1,000,000,000%. All right, lucky last. This was a huge betting move. I think it was sort of double figures in, especially sort of 5 minutes out. It very, very firm, and money was just flooding for it. I think there was another horse well backed in the race. Was it Legio 10 was very solid. Jetabil was solid around its price. There was another move. I think was it Fire Lane was well backed. I think it was sort of $15, $14 in towards it, $8.50. Yeah, there's a couple of good moves here, and they were sort of those middle to wide draws, roll forward horses. Legio 10 certainly got lost back in the pack. We'll have a look at it. A couple of weird rides. Poor old Rachel ended up on Jetabil and just gave it the same ride again. She basically gave it the carbon copy of Spring Lee. So first thing I thought when you saw the move, I just thought this horse would go flat strap, Dollar Magic, and there were 3 or 4 horses that looked similar, that are just going, they look like they'd fly here. I think Kips Bay was change of tactics to be ridden to lead if possible, and there was another very fast horse, Engageable Fire Lane. So yeah, I thought they'd fly here, and they didn't really. I don't think they just went just above average, which makes sense when you see where Dollar Magic sort of settled. So here's Rachel again. Jetabil jumps super well. And again, she's just looking straight over her shoulder to reverse park. It absolutely kills me. It's just like, just ride the race. Don't look, you know what I mean? Why are you looking to reverse park in a 1,100 metre race around this track? I think it's like one turn. Does my head in. Now, I'm picking on her because she's done it 3 times in the one day. But look at her. She's still like looking behind her, trying to work out where she can get cover when she doesn't need it. They're going so slow. What are you doing? Like, it just drives me crazy. So who's that outside it?
by Jun Queer Ezekiel.
So this is Dollar Magic out wide here, sort of pulling in a bit of an unfamiliar spot. So now she ends up 3 wide outside the leaders, even though she sort of dragged it back for the first 300, 400 metres of the race. And now she's still trying to take a sit coming to the bend. It's just a super strange ride. And this is where Reese, whether he did it on purpose or not, he gets out to the right part and he sort of moves the horse into the race and pinches a brake, whereas Rachel's still trying to hold this horse together. We'll go back and look at Legio 10 and others in a sec. But yeah, like to my eye, he kind of half butchered this horse the first half of the race, and for it to be in front of Jetabil at this stage is just insane. Like, this horse should be, considering how it jumped and where it was in the run, it should be 3 in front of this horse. I'm talking about Jetabil, should be 2 or 3 in front of this horse rather than now behind it with the other horse having the momentum. It was just super strange ride. Gets tied late. I could argue that with a better ride that Jetabil probably should have won the race, but the winner was given a pretty big task as well. So Legio 10 out the back, Smashing Eagle. Jun Queer first up. We'll have a look at Disnick first up. Sorry, it's not Disnick first up. I think it was third up. But it's had a run, coming off a decent run. Who's this? Ezekiel first up. I think it was a bit unlucky too. Cody's horse gets on heels here. Pretty messy race. And another one of these races that's just a, it'll feed a similar race where another horse will win. It's one of the problem with these races that there's so many of them and there are a lot of horses that have sort of half found their grade. So Ezekiel, Legio 10, Smashing Eagle back towards the inside. Jun Queer first up. That's not Disnick, is it? Or it is Disnick? No, Disnick's back here. Everyone's a star. Manshood or Manhood.
100 metres, Kips Bay, Fire Lane, Jetabil. Dollar Magic being sold up is coming pretty wide out. Further back to Legio 10, ducking and weaving up the fence, but Dollar Magic takes the lead.
So Ezekiel never really gets clear running to wind up and have a crack at him. He's still on heels and around heels here. Not as if he's super strong through the line, but you could argue he probably should have been in the finish. Legio 10 and Smashing Eagle maybe could have finished a little bit closer, so could this. So, these horses are take turns horses. King of Naples was not well suited here, and it's in the finish here with Fire Lane. They're take turns horses where, depending on how the track's playing, barrier draws, whatever, riders, it's going to dictate who wins the race. They're just nothing super dominant in these races, and that's what a lot of these benchmark whatever races are. These are kind of the benchmark 58 of the bush. They're very competitive, and there's no horse in here, I think, that's super dominant. There's a lot of, there'll be winners come out of it is what I'm saying, but again, it's just a bit of the story of the day. They need to be well placed and things to suit. Yeah, good run, Ezekiel. I'm not the biggest fan of Reese, but this dramatist he rode great. Well, he made the best of a bad decision there, so he kind of pulled and everything had gone wrong, but at least he had the balls to put the horse in the race and pinch a margin, which has ended up being the winning move. Good training performance. The horse has run pretty well. It's had a pretty torrid run, even though they didn't go crazy fast. It was very keen and wide all the way. So good training effort. They deserve the money they got. Few things went its way. Few things went pear-shaped for other runners, that kind of thing. They're probably a little bit lucky, but whatever. Do you ever put people like Rachel on a can't back list, or at least wait until they find confidence list, regardless of the setup? Well, yeah, you got to be limiting of what you have on them, right? So, yeah. Yes and no. Like, you're very demanding. It's a hard question to answer because there's a race for every horse, and sometimes the wrong jockey finds the right horse in the right race. It's just hard to be confident, like I find like Zach Lloyd, I just find it really hard to predict what he's going to do. He's just a bit of a wild card. He's a bit like Maverick from Top Gun. He's got ability, but you never know what he's going to do. And, in a fighter plane, maybe that works in your favor a lot more than it does in a horse race. I like predictable jockeys because, you can kind of work out what you're going to get. Whereas someone like Rachel, someone said something interesting on Saturday. Does she go out with plan A and that's it? And that's kind of what she looks like, I would say. I think that's probably her biggest downfall, that she just can't adapt to what's happening in a race. If she's told to lead, she leads. And it doesn't matter if she's going 1,000 miles an hour or not. She's just going to do it. She can't just pop out, think, well, okay, they're going too fast here. I'm going to just let them go. She just does that. And then in the opposite of this, where she thinks she needs to sit on horses like Jetta Leone and Merck Spring Lee, she's going to go out and find that cover at all costs. And, often that's detrimental. And that's just the big difference between, your Blake Shins, your James McDonald's, compared to most riders. But as far as the list, it's just very hard to put riders in boxes. You probably just stake down on your betting and you're a little bit more conservative about everything. Probably the best way to say it. Yeah, I think Smashing Eagle just needs a full reset. YouTube Slow Punter. How much of an advantage do you give Dollar Magic for a home track? Well, some horses, again, it's a nightmare of a question, because a lot of horses actually don't handle racing at their home tracks as well as they do when they travel. Like you've got, I've got trainers with horses that have to take their horses on a float, for a half an hour, 45-minute drive and bring them home, even if they're racing at home. Because they just go berserk and don't handle racing at their home track. So it's a funny one. Each horse is different, but some horses have great records at their home tracks. There's no doubt about that. It's just horses, of course. I think each horse is different. The YouTube team is sticking together. Let's have a quick look at Brisbane. The inside was cast here. I don't know if anyone forecasted that. Obviously got a bit more rain than what I thought they'd get. And this track's weird. I thought it was the fast draining track, but it must be Eagle Farm that's just like ridiculous. Drains very fast, because the inside was certainly a disadvantage here. Do have times for here, so that helps. Don't really know what races are worth looking at too close. That sort of 3-year-old Open was a bit of a train wreck. I don't think that's going to feed much form. The Chairman's Handicap's just a race where, a lot of similar runners, raced against each other. Your Spirit Ridge, New Endeavour, June 45 race, bit of a nothing race. Gringotts, it looked too impressive to my eye. I still don't think it runs a super strong mile. I think it's a 1,400-metre horse. It had the best run you've ever seen, put him away, was a strong winner, but the time overall says that it was very average. And that kind of measures up to what I thought, which is a little bit interesting, because I think it's a horse that could be overplayed next time out. When I think that was its Christmas, just everything possible. It was a weak race, horses first up, nothing was set up well. Territory Express had a lot against it, break between runs, and up to a mile off that break with a rider that hadn't ridden the horse before. So I think this is an interesting horse that, unless it finds just another race where it looks extraordinarily well placed, off 2 PRs in a row, even though it's getting those PRs because it's got a good racing style and it's racing well, this is a horse that could be found out next time, and you'd be surprised unless it goes to a Group 1 or something. It'll be pretty short. So it just gets that Ideal Dream run in 4th. This is the definition of a PR. I love this when you backed a horse and it's got sort of a length either side, no horse outside it, 1 out, 1 back, cover, a leisurely tempo, and relaxed. Like, this is as good as it gets for any horse, the run that this horse has had. No one puts any pressure on it. He's allowed to sort of come out, slide into the race again. They don't sort of take off. Nothing crazy happens. It's allowed to quicken and go through its gears at its own leisure. This is the just absolute definition of a horse that's had every chance in the run. That's Territory Express on its back. So he does quicken, no doubt. That's Knight's Choice off some average trials, I thought. If it gets to the right part of the track, Territory Express has sort of had to be forced back towards the inside a touch. This horse has got huge improvement. Just absolutely peak fitness. It just couldn't go better for it, and hasn't run crazy, hasn't run time at all. So I think it's an interesting horse to potentially want to take on next time out. Why would he? What was he doing? That's interesting, Gringotts. If they put it away and set it for the big dance, that'll be interesting. But you think they'd sort of race on with it, wouldn't you? Well, have you seen the riders he's put on it? Like he wouldn't get Preble off it for like 4 runs in a row. It was driving me insane. I wanted to jump off a bridge. He was driving me crazy. You're sitting there watching this horse with the biggest engine of all time, and he's putting the bloody the weakest out of form rider in the history of the world on it. It was driving me crazy. But yeah, this horse has come back well. Knight's Choice. It's a horse that's very interesting sort of going forward this prep. Luncey's went okay. What do they do sectionally? So Territory Express ran what? Nothing. Is that it? Which one is it? This one? It didn't do anything too exciting. Nick Austers ran the 3rd fastest last. Military Gamblers run a good race. Luncey's has run a 7th fastest last 400 of the day, so it's returned really well. Yeah, so there's an interesting one. So he sprinted 9th fastest last 400 of the day, Gringotts, but 24th fastest last 200. So it had peaked. I think, I'd be much more scared of Gringotts if he went back to 1400 than if he stayed at a mile in a proper race. Preble sort of popped up again a few weeks ago, but then he's gone again. I thought he'd retired, but yeah. This race is an interesting race. Bitter Creek went better than I thought it would. The time's actually okay. They went a bit quicker than I thought they would. I think he was sleepy on Elmore Zillow. President went okay. He's just a good horse, this Elmore Zillow. I'll watch it just to see whether I was seeing things or whether he just was too lazy. So he's always going to get a little bit back. Drew terribly, Elmore Zillow, but this is him back here, the grey, number 11. President sits outside the leader, so its effort was pretty good off of Freshen. The winner's in front of Elmore Zillow. Actually went a lot better than I thought it would. I thought its runs in Melbourne were only fair. I just thought here, a little bit like what we're talking about with... can't remember the horse that's going. Entitled to be really getting this horse revved up, and especially considering he knows the horse and it back in distance. And he had the flat spot last night and completely missed the boat. Like, he's entitled to be revving this horse up and being, not trying to cut and save ground, be on the back of this horse and coming around him on the bend, or really trying to be right there. And he sort of just missed the boat, that 100 metres, I thought. And he does, he's got that flat spot. It's not the greatest certainty beat in the history of the world. I'm probably whinging more than anything, but you can, through the line, he's still just super strong. Just feels like he just should have been a little bit more urgent with the horse. Can he get to a goddamn JJ Atkins? What will he be? 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. What, he'll have 2 more runs? 7th, 8th up. He wasn't back in distance, sorry. He was 1200 again. He'd be 8th run first prep. It'll be one of the greatest training performances in the world, but it has been slaughtered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row it's been slaughtered. I thought the winner was a camel, but it's gone okay. You can rev them up. You don't have to bash them. That makes sense, Matty, that it's going to the sires, but potentially not. It wasn't a flat out slaughter, but he just knows the horse and I think given the way the first half of the race unfolded, he should have been more urgent earlier. It's run the 5th fastest last 200 of the day. And, you know, it definitely, I'm not saying it was a slaughter. I think it should have won. Gin and tonic in the JJ at the moment. I think the JJ will be very interesting. I rate Finland very highly. Harley of Finland. Yeah, Angel was... I didn't look at it. I watched it. I knew it had been impressive visually, and then I went back and looked at the race, and it looked horrendous, the race that it was coming out of. Yeah, I think everyone got carried away with Clinton saying it was the greatest horse in the world. Yeah. This is an interesting horse. I did too. Yeah, I think everyone just got a bit carried away with Clinton's comments, and you know it rounded up, but it was just dead set rounded up a bunch of camels. This was my best effort ever, finding a 33-1 winner and having an absolute peanut on it, and sitting there and making a decision not to bet into the race. The reason why it was a bad decision is because the two favourites had those inside draws and things against them. So Chinny Boom, Parasol, big weight inside draw for Parasol, second up off a PR at Hawkesbury. You know, it was just crying out to be bet against, and Chinny Boom drawing gate 1 was a nightmare. So I'm an imbecile for not having a decent crack at the race, even if I was wrong, because the you know, the $4.40, $2.80 favourites were, you know, potentially compromised. So, you know, they're the sort of races you dream about betting into, win, lose or draw. So this annoyed me, this result, but it made sense. The horse had good form, trialled quite well. It's certainly got a tempo and everything to suit, and wins on the line. It's just, you know, it's won by act of God to a certain degree, but a little bit headless post-race, personally. I don't think there's a lot to be learnt here.
For two began brilliantly. Chinny Boom on the inside. Tiger Sharks up to third. Bazika Parasol. Extravagant Ruby. Blue Spinel is back outside 3-1. Jar Jar
Bazik's a good effort. Outside leader on a fast tempo. Kicks away beaten on the line. So I'd say it's the run of the race.
Party for two, the first couple. Tiger Shark, you'll be missed on the outside. Parasol sneaks up the fence, and Chinny Boom is the next one. But Bazika's grabbed the lead here, trying to rally back as Party for two.
I don't think Timmy had one of his best days here. He's a little bit unlucky on Tiger Shark. He gave Razors a pretty steady ride. He went down a nose on New Endeavour on the race where he actually rode it really well. It was a bit of a forgettable day for Timmy. But yeah, I think sort of these horses down the outside certainly flattered by tempo and pattern. So yeah, is this race even worth looking at? Probably not. But yeah, huge effort. The second horse, very very stiff if you're on it, and she was only second up there, 1,000, 1,100. Put a few together last prep, sitting up on speed, controlling slow tempo. So yeah, she's ticked the box where she can sit outside leader on a fast tempo and run well. So that's a good box for her to tick, because previously her 3 wins were all lead and sit outside leader in controlled tempos. So that's a clear career best run for me from Zeke. Yeah, that was sick. I don't know how it didn't win. How did Flemington race 1 2-year-old rate compared to the Doon race? I actually don't bother getting full section breakdowns and everything for Melbourne. I just don't really follow it closely enough. I probably should, but I don't. So I get Brisbane, I get Sydney. I don't get Melbourne. Gin and tonics last race. I'll have a look. Sort of Callum. I'm assuming Callum's talking about that Angel horse. That's when you just got to. That's when ratings and things do matter. Because if something looks too good to be true, you know, you got to go back and make sure it is true, because everyone's going to find it, and then you've got to really interrogate what it actually did. There's good upside in it. Unfortunately, you can be just bet up on Willow there, and you still lose. Doomben 10,000. Let's have a look. So fast tempo, they go 4 lengths above to the 8, basically 5 lengths above to the 6. So they've got the hammer down for the most part, and 3 lengths below coming home. Time's pretty good. Espiona, what does it do? Runs huge splits from the 8 to the 6, 8 to the 4, 6 to the 4. The winner's third fastest last 200 of the day. Steffi Magnetica, Private Eye, 6 fastest last 200 of the day. That surprises me. I thought he looked like he sort of whacked away a bit. Steffi Magnetica was the horse I half liked from a sort of place perspective. He was probably unlucky not to run a place. Another rider that Timmy probably would rather have over. I thought I heard Willow say after the race that they told me I couldn't win coming from last. So I don't know if this was a plan or not, or whether the horse missed the start. But I was amazed when I kind of heard him say that, because I would have probably laughed him off and thought, well, you're out of play if you're going to be back last, to be honest. But he's a funny horse. He's so here's Timmy doing what I hate to a certain degree. Was that sort of race, but sort of half misses it, and then he sort of drags back and then gets stuck in an awkward spot. Doesn't really drag it out. They are going fast, but still back and keen in a weird run race. He still looked a bit pretty to me. I wish I win, but what do you do with this horse? He's priced like he's the most dominant horse in the country, but he's struggling to put races away, like he's always ducking and weaving, looking for runs and looking up unlucky. He's run up to win a couple of races and haven't put them away. So what do you do with this horse? I thought Blake Shin completely missed the boat here. So Shin's here on Private Eye. I thought he should have been the one to circle back from a mile run last start. I was amazed that he let Espiona go around him. So he sort of sits on the back of Wee Nessie here instead of sneaking around them and allowing the horse time to sort of build momentum. Nash pulls his pants down, comes around him. Bella Nipotina's right inside it. Steffi Magnetica gets forced back to the inside. So whereas Willow gets to the outside there, which is, looks like the best lane, Tim's sort of trying to have to go back towards the inside on Steffi and then even forced even further inside. She's run really well. Espiona did her usual trick of trying to put her head on sideways. It's hard to argue it was unlucky. I wish I win, surely. It's never gone near the fence. Body Bob stayed back there. He's probably in the not A1 ground, but he's not in the D ground. What do you do with him? He's obviously a very good horse, but he's just not dominant, and he's just priced like he's dominant every time he goes out. She's a nightmare. He's had a long, tough prep and just continues to race, honestly. She's like a what? I don't even know. They probably would have hammered her for that. How do you spell it? 1F. So she was they hammered her. They gave her 20 points for the surround. So this is where we were talking about the other day about ratings. She was a 76 in the light fingers, then ran second in the surround. They gave her 20 points. 96 rater heading into that race, Steffi Magnetica. Holy cow, no wonder Björn's tried to bloody measure up there. That's insane. That's insane that horse is a 96 rater. But what, like, assuming these horses are heading towards, I don't know, Stradbrokes and there's another weight for age race, isn't there? Far out. Bella Nipotina's been all over the world and running him down. Far out. It'll be 71. Yeah, but what was... She was probably more unlucky than Espiona. She was more unlucky than Private Eye. She was in a... She could hold a more forward spot than them, I think, naturally. So she's got more upside from a potential improvement perspective. She was only first up. You know, like, you could argue that she was very unlucky not to run a place, if not go close. You know, I don't know. I don't know if she will be overbet to the point that she probably should be. You know, if you reprice that race, what price do you put her? $6, $7 on? Would be fair. Yeah, Kingsford Smith. Are they going to go to Royal Ascot with Chain of Lightning off the back of that? Why would they have just not gone straight there? Admitted. Connections advised a change of tactics and 7 attempts on midfield, so set on the rear. Sorry, I just missed a bunch of things here. Does Radies win charge sectionals per state? Yes. So you get some sort of, like, maybe to the 600 and home, but if you want more detailed sectionals, like I get sectionals, rankings, lanes, all of that is more. Sorry, just catching up. Steffi's going to the Fred Best. Hindsight 96 might not be so far-fetched. Yeah, but they're doing it on purpose. They're pushing all of these horses so they have to run in these races. Like, there's no way in the world that she should get 20 points for running second in the surround when she was probably, what? I can't remember. 20-1. It was a slow run, joke race where she box-seated. She obviously ran well to start before that too. They were really two slowly run races and bunch margin finishes. Like 20 points is 10 kilos. It's just, it's too much. It's too much. And it's just, I don't know. They just don't care because they've got their black type most of the time. You know, they're happy. But yeah, she's just another example of how often this happens. Moody said decision to come in a week about Ascot. He gets bought by new owners. Yeah, I don't think Stewie will be paying his way to send her over there. He'd much rather someone else pay the bill. Yeah, so these horses are a little bit beaten up. That's the hard part. But they're run time and whatever. They're very good horses. I thought the race was very hard to get a handle on prior to the race, and I think it was probably right. There's not much between a lot of them. The four horses that looked most obvious were the first four across the line, and Steffi looked the wild card, and she ran out of her skin. This is the most interesting race for me. Putrid Time. Slow to the 8, slow down to the 6, don't come home. 7 lengths below standard for the time overall. And don't really do anything at any stage. There's some interesting runs right back in the pack. Is it Ichiban or is it this horse? Mannerheim is a horse I want to have a look at. Warrior the Warrior runs some crazy sections. Is it? Must be. Warrior the Warrior runs some crazy sections. Autumn Angel runs the fastest last 200 of the day. Adjusted the way they do this anyway. So there's some interesting runs in the race, but the race overall is pretty putrid. This horse is annoying me. It sort of worked out, talking about before, it's been gelded between runs. It's got a bit of a Gringotts smell to me about it, that it just everything possible went right. It looks really flashy, but heading to the Derby, I'm concerned about this being the right form. Well, the winner especially, because I think Autumn Angel just had a barrier trial. It's not as if she's a long way off him in the run. She's only 2 pairs off him. But I think everything that could go right did go right for Tannhauser here, including the soft track. And I don't think he's got huge upside. Presslink sits outside the leader and runs okay. I think Port Lockroy's shown that even though he's in not the right part of the track, I think Adam actually rode it too well that he doesn't run the trip at all. I tried to tell a few people to buy him and chop his balls off and set him for a 1400 or a mile race. I think he's a very good 1400 metre miler. I don't know where this horse Manaheim is, but it runs some interesting sections back in the pack. So Manaheim's dead last. So this horse runs some really good sections late.
Away from the fences, Kira Cam. Going forward is Gold Bullion, Tannhauser right towards the outside. 400 metres left to run. Captain Fankel, the leader from coming through Port Lockroy. Here's Kintyre down the
So he's back in here, this Star Thoroughbred thing. And Warrior the Warrior's the other one that's running. So what's interesting is this horse is sort of getting forced back towards the inside, whereas Warrior Alder's out and around. A very fit horse that's getting to the right part of the track, as is Autumn Angel. Whereas this bloke's sort of going back towards the inside there. And well and truly hidden. Ugly horse. I don't know the horse that well. Let's have a look at him. 1, 2, 3, 4 starts. 3 starts first prep. 3rd, 4th up. So 1 at Ipswich last start. Jesus Christ. Blinkers first time last. Oh, Blinkers again. Last start at Ipswich, 2nd fastest, last 800 of the day. 1350, 1666 up to 1700.
They turn to the back. Short gear. Blue Ray begins a mid-race move, but they track. Lascelles nearer the rail. Then Manaheim. He's now travelling into the picture. Rockyer's drop back and then Pleadale Chassain.
Wouldn't think this track could suit this horse.
Around the turn. Tokyo Bandit trying to get away from them. From Saxon Brave per capita. New Level comes to the outside. Manaheim wider. And Lascelles sneaking inside runs. Down below the 200. Tokyo Bandit led from Saxon.
This looks like it wants 2400, doesn't it?
From the back, but Manaheim reached the lead. 50 to go. Manaheim's in front. It's home. Beat home Chassain.
He's a horse that could improve for the Derby. Interesting horse. Led all the way over 1700 Ipswich. Why would he take this horse to Ipswich 3 times? Weird. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know much about the horse or whatever it is, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of this race. I do think Autumn Angel can improve. Kind of had a similar run to Tannhauser there. It just, you know, I'd be looking for a bit of left field form for the Derby, probably. What's the betting? Autumn Angel 350, Tannhauser 450, Warmonger, that's that thing from Adelaide, right? Surely Ahariri's not. Surely it's spelling. Active. What? Yeah, I think Port Lockroy needs a Felix the Scat. I'll have a look at it. Well, while we're in the Derby and Oaks chat, thoughts on good banter for the Oaks. Where is it? It hasn't been seen since it beat home Autumn Angel, has it? Is it in this week? Thought her recent trial was super, particularly last 100. I'll have a look at it. Good banter trial. So with Steffi, doesn't the fact that she runs unlucky not to place anything? Well, it potentially does, but I just don't think it's fair. I just think horses are losing their ability to go through the grades, and I think this horse was flattered by its circumstances there, and it's maybe they are right, but they're still overly aggressive, and they're wrong doing the same thing carte blanche to so many horses. Maybe this one, through improvement and sort of things, it's got it right, but I don't think that makes it right still. Felix has got to have a look at. What was the horse we were just looking at? It's called Mannerheim or something. $101. It's an interesting horse. Just because he looks like he wants 2,400, and like he's got Ipswich form, but if I'm going to back a horse out of that race, I'm definitely not taking $4.50 about Tannhauser. I'm not taking $3.50 Autumn Angel, but I could take hundreds for a peanut on this thing. Ross's Warrior, the Warrior, 50 to 1 as well. Anyway, you can sometimes cook horses. Shade of Roses was the last one I remember. Yeah, King of Bjorns. Mate, it'll stay a lot better, that's for sure, than Longines. Have a look at Good Banter. So yeah, that race is a big query race. I think a lot of fall by the wayside. Autumn Angel obviously off a freshen, back in distance, blah blah blah. Wasn't suited by a sit sprint tempo from back in the field. Whereas I think the winner is I think he's more of a mile. If he wins the Derby, too good, but you do have to treat him as, I guess, a newish horse because he's just had his balls chopped off. Interesting. All right, let me see this trial of Good Banter. She must be going to run this week.
Forward. Set, resistible next to it. And the starter lets them
Interesting you put in a 1,000-metre trial.
Resistible to the inside gate next to it. And the starter
Missed the
lets them
kick.
go. Resistible began well with Avery.
Get worried about horses that miss the kick during their preps and don't show any speed, because I know she's a back marker or midfield to back marker, but when horses miss the start and don't show speed in trials when they're hard fit, I tend to not love that. And I know it's a 1,000-metre trial. She's come back from a 2,000-metre race, but I get a little bit worried.
First is Vintage, second through Bay Wolf held together. Second the outside Avery cruises up now. And Vintage Cod as they come to the 200, joined by Avery. He went past it. Avery put the head in front. It's going to draw clear inside the last 75. Avery, it has a good break. Resistible and Vintage Cod fight out the minor position, but Avery first beats Resistible. Vintage Cod a good.
I'm not sure.
Trial, then
I agree. She got her home okay, and through the line she looks good. She looks better now than she did back through on the line. She wear blinkers? She does wear blinkers, so she tried without blinkers as well. What's he doing? What's she running in? Ahariri. So Ahariri's nom for the Roses over 2,000 this Saturday, which I'm assuming is the same race Good Band is going to. I'm not reading the chat. And it's nom for the Queensland Derby in the Oaks. Hariri. I'd rather see it run in the Derby than the Oaks. What price was it? Like $15. Christ. I'd rather take $15 there than $6 the other one or whatever it was, but you just want to know that it's going there. Cashmere into fighting on Wednesday. She's in the Roses. All right, let's look at these fields. Mannerheim, 100 to 1. Futures. So we've got Doomben Cup, PRC Sprint, Magic Millions, 2-year-old Classic. So is this the... Oh, no, it can't be because it's got Doomben Cup. Alright. Kovalik and Numerian Huetor. Detonator Jack, usual suspects here, right? I doubt there'll be anything too exciting here. Amakura was playing the other day. Goldman. He was only playing the other day, but he's been given a couple of ordinary rides. Yeah, nothing too exciting there. Yellow Brick is favourite for the yellow. What the fuck? Jesus. My old mate Water goes. Interesting horse, Coco Jambu. None of these are world beaters. I think Straight Ace, it doesn't look like he's going any good. The Inevitable's scary. Holy shit, Anesa's still... Oh, yeah, I did hear it was still going. It's just a horse. It's the thing that won... How far is this race? $1,200-metre race, 2-year-old fillies. So Clean Energy won a 1,000-metre race at Warwick Farm where she was drawn absolutely perfect and basically handed the race. Spywire Embassy. Gin and Tonic. This is the horse that the Mighty Slope Hunter was talking about. Gin Tonic?
Field of 10 contesting this race. Starters delight, they bounced as one. Let's look for an early leader. Showing great early. So is Alpha Bravo. And Pride of Fiddles in luck leads. And Lucy Rana was about first, but it's been a while.
Oh, I remember this horse.
Wayfair as well. Both not travel Rana. Full space has got work to do. He's trying to run on down the outside. But this
He went too slow on it in front and was a bit lucky that he got away with it. It was definitely a better win than it looked first start. He went way too slow on it. And then I didn't see its second win. Dirty that I didn't, because what have they bet? $7. Wider draw, 1,200 again. This is absolutely perfect for this horse. Far out. He just went way too slow on it at its first start. Wider draw, much better. And he's tried to do the same thing. Look what he's doing on it. Oh my God, how are they letting back on this horse? Oh, it's a good horse. He's half destroyed at both starts. Let's have another one.
Light on. And also Bo Dutswell with Silver and Suave. Ginatonic coming across from the deep draw. Off Lobile around the inside as
oh my God.
Then Terroon second up. Bella steered. Giles Star, Big Lad and Alpha Bravo heads the others. Elder of Silver Setter. Silver and Cinderella.
Jesus Christ, it's a horse, isn't it?
McDonald lifts it late and it'll get in.
They've got to get rid of him. Fourth start, first prep. 2 hard runs in a row. Up on fast speeds, its last 2. That's a big price, $15. Hard fit horse that goes forward. There's not a lot there to be scared of. Like Spywire, no. Arabian Summer, no. Clean Energy's got a tough task. 1,000 to 1,200 and eases off a break. Embassy's just a horse. Yeah, I think the Slope Hunter, I can be with you there. Candice, yeah, that was the $2.5 million horse, right? I feel terrible for a guy I know who had a share in Mama Ragan. Yeah, Jesus, I remember they were saying it was going to be far that. Yeah, I think you found an interesting horse there, Slow Putter. Because it looks a winnable race, and Jesus Christ, all 3 runs have been really good. It's one of my favourite horses to find because people don't like, when they go too slow and the leader wins and it doesn't look flashy, but it's the one that was at least advantage because the jockey's just fallen asleep. You tend to get a price about him again next time out. Okay, the Roses. Molly Bloom, $3.50. Scarlet Oak, $5 off that barrier trial. Amazonian Lass, $8. How the hell? Hariri, 11. Good Banter, 11. True to La Vida, they just paid $3 million for it. Crazy. Gentle Issue. Good race. Private Legacy off the freshen. Chicken Mojito's interesting. Kenyatta's interesting. Jeez, it's a good race. Cello off that. Surely half of these. Yeah, that's a good race. That's not a race I'd be too worried about tackling early. Because Molly Bloom's going to take up a huge percentage anyway, unless you know one of these horses or something's not going to run. Yeah, I'll be happy to sort of wait for Wednesday for that one. What was the race you want me to look at on Wednesday? Serious? Pink Cashmere. What race is it? It better not be a race full of goddamn first starters or something. Pink Cashmere first up, Kira Ma, 182 days. Are you serious? Global Empire Legless, Best Intent. Not a bad horse. I think it's for sale, which scares me. Perennial, fine vintage. Stoppable to Bello. How have you found Pink Cashmere? 1100 first up. Never won past 1,000. Only ever won its first start in a race. How have you found this horse, mate? 3 trials and it's going first up 1,100.
Fire try is an effort in flight. It's out of the field, and the last one is up the straight. Pink Cashmere kicks.
Trialed 3 trials with blinkers on, and they've jammed it in the trial.
Runners is in flight. Pink Cashmere has a clear cut lead.
How have you found this horse?
And Pink Cashmere all the way. It beats second Nefertari, third Walenda, the outside the black straight. Pink Cashmere kicks.
I hope it's 20 to 1.
Pink Cashmere all the way. It beats second.
I'd have to have a better look at that race. What was the other horse you said? Defining? Oh, it's that camel bloody mile thing. Yeah, it's that camel thing. Yeah, yeah, that's a too hard basket for this time. I don't think the horse is much good though. Third trial though, if that was a first trial or something, I don't like them giving it a third trial. And when they normally jam them in the third trial, it normally means the horse has been underperforming and they're trying to work out whether to even send it to the races or not. You know, a little bit different to say like Skylab where they gave it 4 or 5 trials getting it ready. It's got beat 13 and 10, where I'm assuming it was underwhelming.
Opal Ridge left fairly out. Opal Ridge can beat a mark now, and it rails last of all.
So no blinkers. No blinkers. Obviously, this is not a bad trial. You got Opal Ridge. It gets to the right part. Beaten a long way.
Opal Ridge will open up and win by about 3 lengths on the line from Naked Eye, Ithacus.
Yeah, like when they jam the blinkers on, third trial, 1,000 back to 790, leads controls, doesn't really do a lot, and then runs the 24th fastest last 200. I know it was looked after a bit. There's a lot of danger signs with that horse for me. Oh, it could have been fat. I think it'll be close to its top first up, but I just don't know if it's much good. How about Bob Peters selling Stageman in English last week rather than retiring it? Yeah, you hear a lot of average things about Bob Peters. Doing some weird stuff. He obviously likes the dollar. He's very controlling and whatever. I'll revisit it, Callum. I'll revisit it on Wednesday. You never know. Like, things might fall differently, but it's a winnable race, but I'll have another look. All right, guys, I don't think there's much there to tackle. That 100 to 1 chance is a little bit interesting. There's a couple of good races Saturday, but yeah, I don't think there's much there early worth attacking without knowing what's going on. What have I got to do? I've got to get waxed. That's going to be interesting. Cheers, guys. I'll talk to you later in the week. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your input. Later. Cheers. What are you prepared to lose today? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.